start this streaming event. Hello. Can anybody hear me? All right, awesome. Well, I got a fancy headset so I could talk to you fine people, and it should be a little faster than if I was just checking the chat. So this is wolf movie scene that I'm working on here. Scene 13. This is shot 31. I just pretty much finished up Bernard over on the right. Although he's got a few little details I could go in and fine tune, like his little ear fluffies are missing. And I've also got to do Indigo, who's on the left. Indigo is going to be a lot easier because he's just going to look up and blink. So I thought it'd be a good thing to do for the stream because it won't be too thought intensive and too time intensive, and I can focus on it and also chat with you fine people. All right. I should open up Indigo's model sheet. I keep forgetting there's a delay. I was like, man, nobody's responding to my witty banter. And I thought, oh, wait, there's a delay. They're all waiting to hear my wonderful voice. Okay, where is his model sheet? There we go. All right. I like to keep the top part of this open down here because then I can sort of see it next to the timeline. So if I need a quick reference guide to what he looks like. Some of you may notice that the thumbnail preview has changed a little bit from my final image, and some of you may not have changed or noticed that, and that's totally fine. I went back in and nudged his model to be a little more correct this morning because it was bugging me. He wasn't completely on model. And there's still some stuff I noticed, but, well, not going to worry about it too much. Yep. Coyote Stories animation is really fun. It's also very tedious. I don't know if you guys can see my timeline here. I can actually expand it a bit, make it a little bigger. Every single one of those purple dashes at the top is a new drawing. So there's, well, there's not actually 71. It goes up to 71, but that's how many frames are playing. There's probably about half of that, maybe 30, 35 drawings, something like that. And that's just for Bernard. So think about drawing this character 35 times in slightly different positions. Sometimes it's so subtle that it'll drive you a little bit crazy. Like turning the head, moving the markings around, all that stuff. So it can be a little overwhelming. But as they say, when giving you advice on how to eat a whale, you start one bite at a time. So that's how you do it with animation. Just start and do the next step and then do the step after that. And pretty soon your drawing is moving. There you go. You don't have to pay some fancy college to teach you animation now. I've taught you everything there is to it. All right, my computer's just a little bit laggy with all this stuff running on it. So I already started a few in-betweens here for Indigo. He's going to blink right here. All I've drawn is the eyes and the eyebrows kind of squinching down. And then his head starts to go up. I like to frame back and forth instead of onion skinning a lot because I can actually see the motion happening. A lot of traditional animators recommend this, a lot of like the classically trained traditional animators. You can absolutely onion skin, and I do for sometimes if I have to do like a drawing that's really close in between two other drawings, but for these big movements like this, I like to sort of eyeball it, and you can do that by framing back and forth, or like how the animators used to do it, actually flipping the pages back and forth. I think the head should actually tilt just a little bit when it comes up in the other direction. You're just making adjustments as you go. I tend to start with the eyes because they're sort of fixed in the skull. They're not really moving anywhere. The nose is going to move a little bit depending on the angle. It's going to go from being kind of like you seeing the top of it to seeing more of the bottom of it a little bit, this area. But the eyes pretty much stay in the same place in the head, so I use them as a base. Let's see. And I'm going to have the eyes stay closed for a lot of the way up, probably. I'm still thinking this through. But I want them to kind of pop open a little bit at the end because his head up is going to be going kind of slow. He's reacting to Bernard here, but he's sort of sad, so he's very slowly lifting his head up and looking at him like, yeah, what do you want? There's a lot of drama here. You guys don't know the backstory of what just happened. I should probably catch up in the chat a little bit. Also, I want to thank Berwiener for handling a lot of your questions, probably, because it's good to tag team with another person on the project. Let's see. Yep, you're right. I have actually animated a wolf scene in Flash. In fact, if you were at our compositing stream last week, the Luna shot where she was jumping down from the sky was all done in Flash. But it was hand drawn in Flash. I'm using Photoshop right now. I've used GIMP in the past for inking, but I've never used it to animate. So yeah, that's me. I've also worked on paper. So traditional, and then having to scan everything in at the end, which is a huge headache, but it's also very satisfying to draw on paper. Give me just a second. I'll be right back. All right. I had to go let my husband in. He just came home with dinner. Ho, 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 ho. All right. Let's see. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, I think. Ooh, a Sunisi. You've been thinking about joining us. Please apply. We love having animators. Um, volunteering for a wolf is it's a labor of love. I've been on the project an embarrassingly large amount of years. I've been here, I think it's been 12 years actually. I've been on this project off and on. The really nice thing about working for Wolf as an animator is there's not like hard deadlines. There's not like you have to finish this now because we are all volunteers and we have other lives and other projects and things that we need to work on, jobs, families. So they're very understanding of that. Now that sucks for you guys, the fans, because it's like when you ask us when we're going to finish, we have no idea. We're like, well, one day when we finish everything. But because there's no set deadlines, we don't really have control about how fast stuff gets finished. That being said, we do like to challenge ourselves, and like people will drop out and then come back months later or weeks later. Sometimes in the past, we've done challenges to see like who can do the most, stuff in a month or whatever. It's been a while since we've done that, but there's ways that we sort of stay motivated. And the group is actually really, really well organized as far as like just the way it's the files are all handled, the file structure, the file storage. Uzuri, who pretty much is like running the project right now, is very organized. So it's pleasant. It feels very professional and easy at the same time. Like it feels like they know what they're doing, but at the same time, there's not that pressure of like you have to get things done. Um, and it's nice. It's a really good learning experience for me. I'm actually a working professional myself. I've been animating for uh, about the same amount of time I've been on Wolf professionally. I've worked for television and video games now, And I still have a lot to learn from this project. Like I remember coming into this as a professional first and being like, "Oh, I'll show these guys. You know, I'm a pro. I work professionally." And like all this stuff about like staying on model and animating traditionally, it's still a challenge for me, and it's still something I'm learning from. And so it's been really humbling, and it's been pretty cool to sort of experience that. So yeah, it's really laid back and fun and low key, but also extremely challenging. Oh man, Disney and Star Wars 15. Flip books are the way to go. I love flip books. I don't do them enough. I should do them more. They're fun because you can just jump in and start drawing. You don't have to worry too much about the rules. You can just have fun with it. Oh, Hulu May, I'm so glad to hear about the flipping. I'm a huge fan of Tonico Pantoja. He's actually one of the reasons I started animating a lot more frequently because he posted a nice timing video. Um, and now because I understand timing better, I'm able to like jump in and learn a lot more. Yep, 24 frames per second. Yeah, and then we draw every other frame. Although there's exceptions, it depends on the timing. So if something's moving really fast, I'll add in another frame to make sure that there's not going to be too big of a gap in between the motion, so it doesn't look too like what's the word? Send us slow on the screen. All right, let's see. I'm trying to read and draw so you guys aren't too bored, and then also like think about my animation all at the same time. All right, let's see. Yeah, we have some areas in the forum. We actually have like a drawing area for art. We have fan art. I think we have like an animation where you can post your animated things that you're working on. So yeah, yeah, Disney and Star Wars. Character consistency is so hard. I've actually been focusing on that lately. The model sheets help a lot because they show you where you're supposed to go. It's like a map, but then it's like you still have to know how to drive the car, and that's like you still have to learn how to operate a machine. So having a map is helpful, but having a car or a horse or whatever to get you there is also helpful. Um, Lately, I've actually found a really good exercise, which is to take an existing character and to copy it as closely as you can, and then overlay it in Photoshop and make notes about where all the differences are. I learned about this from John Crispolucci's blog. John K. He's a guy who did Ren and Stimpy, and he basically said do that over and over again. And as you get better and better at copying, that's basically what animation requires is like copying a character faithfully. It's not so much about let me express my own character, my own style, but it's about following a model sheet. Well, animation isn't about that, but if you're working on a group animated project, then that is what it's about. Is following the vision of the project. So it's very important that you try to stay on model, so the scenes look consistent from scene to scene. And I still struggle with that myself. I think a lot of people do. It's about knowing how to draw really well, which is, I guess, a struggle for every artist. If you guys hear any strange sounds, my husband's preparing dinner in the other room, so don't mind him. The good news is the baby went right down, so we won't have any crying tonight in our stream. So I'm gently turning the head as he goes up. And I'm really trying to get the dimension of the mouth here, but it's a little tricky. He's got kind of a round lower jaw, but I don't want to make it too round because then he starts to look a little lanky. He's got to still have those little cute puppy proportions. Another nice thing about Photoshop that I like is that I can actually play this as a video. There's an audio clip down here. I can try playing it for you guys. I don't know if it will play. I don't think it'll play in the stream, unfortunately, because I don't think my audio's set up that way. But I can just hit space and like the whole scene plays. And I can hear it with the audio that the character is saying. He's saying, yeah, it was more better our way. So I can see Bernie moving if I need to, or I can turn him off and just focus on Indigo. So there's a lot of nice tools in like digital animation that makes things much faster, but you're still getting that nice hand-drawn feeling of working on paper. Yeah, I guess I should figure out what the ears are going to be doing. Oh, another nice thing about Photoshop, you can cheat if you need to. So for instance, I can take these ears and I can bring them over here and paste them. And, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. And move them down ever so slightly. Where did my ears go? Is this them? Ah. Time to undo a bunch of stuff. Anyway, you can do that. I'm apparently really bad at doing that right now. There we go. That's where I want them. And then I can move him down just a bit, so then when his head goes down, they look slightly off. So I'm not going to worry about doing that right now. But yeah, that's always an option in Photoshop. I did that somewhat for Bernard in places. I copied things over. I try not to do it very often because you start to get a sort of cutout, stiff look, because all of these shapes should actually move a lot as the head's turning and things like that. The dimensions are moving around, the facets and the balls and whatever else, the round pieces and the straight pieces. So that should be redrawn ideally so that it doesn't look too stiff, especially in a two-dimensional medium like paper, or in this case, digital paper. Should catch up in the chat. Cell Kit, I actually work in traditional animation. I do use Flash, but I do kind of what you're seeing here, only I mix it more with cut and paste stuff, like what I did with the ears. Um, and I, right now, currently work for a video game company called Mino Games. We made a game called Mino Monsters. It's in the App Store, and then we're currently working on a cat game collection, or cat collecting game that's coming out very soon. We're actually playtesting it now. In the past, I've worked on Word Girl, which is a PBS show for kids, and then I also worked for Squidbillies for Adult Swim. That was my first job, and I've done a few projects here and there for freelance and other things, but those are probably my main things that are actually things that you can actually go and find on the internet. um, so yeah, let's see. Thanks for the compliment, Selkit, on my timing. Yeah, I was actually really surprised in college. Actually, when I started college was right when the Disney studios were getting shut down. It was after Home on the Range, I think, had just come out, but like, the classic Disney era was over. Um, and so I was in college and everybody was jumping ship and going to 3D because they were like, well, that's it. Disney's dead. Nobody's doing 2D anymore. But I love to draw and I love 3D animation. I love to watch it, but I've never been interested in learning how to do it. So I was like, well, I refuse to switch. I want to do 2D. This is my passion. I love to draw and I love to draw cartoons. I'm just going to have to live under a bridge and animate for myself, I guess. I'm already in college. There's no going back now. This is a dream of mine. So I stuck with it. And surprise, surprise, there was actually work for me when I graduated. I mean, I had to learn Flash, so it was a little bit of a compromise because I wanted to do paper and pencil traditional Disney animation. And instead, I went to work for Squidbillies, which, if you've ever seen it, is probably the anti Disney. Um, But it was fun. I still got to animate. I technically still got to draw. Um, oops. And yeah, so and then I've gotten now I get to work on projects that are a lot more challenging and fulfilling. Like Mino Monsters was very challenging. The monster design is just really well done. Um, and so even though we were doing it in Flash, there was a lot of redrawing, a lot of special effects work, like just really cool stuff. So yeah, one of the main things as far as staying on model, and since I'm working on the ear, I'll bring it up, is minding the shapes and the space between them. So right now I'm looking at this whole area of the ear here that's like the rim, and when I flip back and forth, I'm looking to see if the width changes as I work. And so I'm very careful to preserve that width as I work, and so that helps keep it on model. So I'm noticing that the ear gets a little thin here, so I'm just going to bring this over a bit. So it's just for me right now, since I'm still not great at staying on model, it's a lot of futzing and going in and having to redo it a bit. So I feel like it takes me longer than it would like some better animators. But yeah, I'm looking at where the head and the ear join right here where I drew the circle. So I'm looking and it's here and then it jumps up to here. And it looks sort of right, but I feel like this could go out a little bit to keep it a little wider and closer. And this is like what Tonico Pantoja was saying. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name. That's how I pronounce it in my head, uh, which is like the flipping, so you kind of see how everything's looking as it moves. You just practice it. You just keep doing it, and eventually your eye starts to notice more. And this is where like all the copying of other characters comes in. I know John Kay was saying to copy a lot of Preston Blair characters. Actually, I can bring up one of my previous exercises here. I think my computer doesn't chug too much. I was just doing this one the other morning. All right. Um, Actually, maybe I don't have it up here. Where did I put it? Well, oh, here we go. I think this is it. Yeah, that was it. So I picked this little penguin, and I drew him, and then I went in and I drew over, or I put the original drawing under him, and then I made notes about where I was off and stuff like that. And then I drew him again, and actually I think I drew him worse the second time, which is kind of funny to me. I think I did it better the first time. So this is kind of a simple character, but you'd be surprised. You have to get the width of the butt right and the how far the neck is from the head and all that stuff. And that's all stuff that you use when you're drawing any character. Um, there's all these like subtleties. So yeah, and if all of this nitpicking and framing through and having to do it over and over again hasn't scared you off, then maybe you're fit to be an animator. It's a little bit crazy. I shouldn't say fit to be an animator. Maybe animation is your calling. Because I believe that anybody can animate if they just put in the mindless hours of tedium, then anyone can do it. It's just like anything. You practice it enough and you get to be better at it. That's why I love the movie Ratatouille so much. Anyone can cook. Not everyone should cook, but a great cook can come from anywhere. I just spoiled the entire movie for those of you who haven't seen it, but not really. All right. And I haven't numbered these yet because I don't yet know how fast I want them to go. I'm literally just drawing the stuff in between to get an idea of like what the general motion is going to be. Now, is this why are these frames overlapped? Oh, they're not. My computer's just laggy. I don't have a fancy machine like Burwainer does. Also, Burwainer, that's how I pronounce your name in my head, so that's how it's going to be. I just realized I don't know if you want to be called by your username or not, so I'm going to call you Burwainer. And I'm going to check in on the chat. Oh yeah, Maria Cute Bowie Wolf. I don't know how that's pronounced. Yep. Actually, I'm in Canada, but I'm really close to America, and I'm from America originally. So let's see. Holy cow, Charmander! How are you so busy? That's amazing. Good job, though. Maria, I don't know if we can, if the thing's set up so anybody can post links, but feel free to drop by the forum and, or just send in an application if you want. Just go ahead and send a link to all your stuff. And, if it's not going to work, then we'll tell you, hey, this is what we need, or, but honestly, like if you just send your stuff in, then we can be like, yeah, this works or it doesn't work or, whatever. And it's a little more official that way because we might forget. Like I might get to animating and streaming, and then it's like, oh yeah, you left a link. All right, I'll check it out. And then later, I just totally forget and I go to bed, and So it's probably better if you just send in an email, and yeah, there we go. I don't know if you guys can see that movement, but his little head's turning. And I'm gonna have his ear flick out, but that's gonna happen more towards the end. So right now it just stays back until he pops his head up. I'm not sure yet if I want him to flick his ear out when he gets up there, or if he gets up there and then his ear sorts of goes out. We'll see. Zethany, as far as beginner animators, I would say use whatever program that is easiest for you to learn, because you can honestly animate in so many programs now. Like I'm using Photoshop. You can use Flash. You can try one of the fancier programs like Harmony or TV Paint. They tend to be very expensive, but if you can get a copy of it, feel free to use that. Anything that allows you to be able to kind of go back and forth and look at your drawings in sequence is a good idea. I mean, some people animate in. There's that person that does like the Nintendo DS animations. Like that person is just amazing. I don't know how they do that. But you can use almost anything that lets you see a sequence of images. Um, so if you can get your hands on any program like that, you just start. You can start with some basic exercises like the bouncing ball. That's the one that all animators start with. And I'm sure if you look up bouncing ball on YouTube or on Google or any place, you're going to get like an example of it. The nice thing with the bouncing ball is that you get to practice timing. You get to practice staying on model because you got to keep the ball looking roughly the same size and shape across the whole board. Um, so yeah, it's everything you're ever going to need to know in animation, but simplified down. You're just drawing a ball, so you're not focusing too much on I have to get this character on model and I have to make sure that this anatomy is right and whatever. So that's why it's used a lot in animation school and animation stuff. If you can get a copy of the Animator Survival Kit, that's a pretty good starting book. There's also another one by, hold on, I'm looking on my bookshelf here. Oh, I forgot his name momentarily, which is horrible because he's like one of my favorite animators. There's a book called The Animation Crash Course, and that also has everything sort of simplified down, like how timing works and all that. Um, so yeah, that would be my advice. And then draw all the time because drawing can take so long, and the faster you draw, the faster you can animate. Oh, hey Ashley, I think I saw you on the forum. I think I responded to you. We've been a little bit busy, so I've seen that there hasn't been a ton of activity on the forum lately, but it tends to be like sometimes there's no activity, sometimes there's a little bit, sometimes there's a lot. So, in fact, I've actually been through a big dry spell myself, and I'm just now starting to get back into the groove of things. Uh, so it's like I was saying earlier, the project's very low key about deadlines, which is good for people with who want to do this but don't always have the time and don't want the pressure of well you have to finish this now. But it's not great for the fans who want to know when we'll be done and when the movie will be out and all this. And as you can see, animation is a very slow process, especially for me. Although I will say I go very slightly faster than this when I'm not streaming because I'm not talking, and also my computer's not as laggy. Right now it's just a little bit laggy, like I'm having to wait in between like framing, which usually I frame like really fast if I can, because then I can see the movement better. Another benefit to not using the onion skinning, that really makes my computer lag. But since I don't use it much anyway and I'm trying to practice at getting better at flipping, that works out right now. I'm all self-conscious when I draw something wrong because I'm like, everyone's looking and going, hey, you drew that ear wrong. Sometimes I draw something totally wrong, but I don't notice it until I come back like the next day, and then I open my file and I'm just like, what was I feel like a lot of artists probably deal with that. I should open one of my other scenes up too and show you guys. I think I had another one that I was gonna pull up, but I can't remember now. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I was just the Bernie thing. I would show you the Flash scene, but I'm not even sure if I still have it on my computer because I worked on that scene a while ago. The Luna scene that Berwainer was working on last stream. Because I really like that Flash is sort of. I'm kind of a cheerleader for Flash because a lot of people like to downplay it and be like, ah, it's a crappy program and it makes crappy animation because they remember like, it's sort of a cheap way to animate and it can be very cheap. But I've found that it has incredible possibilities if you just use it as an animation tool and not just as like a way to cheat animation. I mean, there are ways to cheat, but you can cheat really beautifully. There's some studios that actually animate shows in it. Well, I know, for instance, when I worked on Word Girl, we did it, but also Titmouse, which is an animation studio in New York. They do some incredibly gorgeous hand drawn animation, and they pretty much exclusively use Flash. At least the studio in New York does. Where did my eraser go? There we go. I probably should just copy this ear over, but I'm being stubborn. Now I'm drawing it way too fat. I get impatient instead of, so what Tanico Pantoja does is he puts dots like to indicate where the things are supposed to go. I get impatient and I start drawing lines, but then it bites me in the butt when I draw something way off model. I'm like, all right, I should listen to the master. Actually, that ear should be moving down anyway. All right, let's see, how's this looking? Now the body, I may actually just copy the body over. Right now I'm focusing on the head because the body's not going to do much. And I think I can just take all of this. I think I have it moving a tiny bit, but I might be able to just paste this here and then just erase the bits that I don't need. Although I think his marking is going to have to move up and down. That's probably not going to work. Let's merge this down. Using any program can be a little, yeah, it's not working. All right, let's not do that. Sometimes you can get away with that, but like in this case, I did put a little bit of subtle movement in there, and it's kind of ruining it now that I'm trying to cheat it. I probably could have left the body still, but if you leave one part of the anatomy too still, sometimes like the eye will pick that up, and like you'll have a beautifully animated head, and then the body does nothing, and so it just looks weird. I tried that with one of my other shots, and I kind of ruined it. I didn't ruin it. It just, I can see where it happens and it drives me crazy, but I'm sort of like, I need to move on to the next shot and I'll come back to this if it's bad enough that it needs to be fixed. But Oh, version 14 on my file. Yup. So after a lifetime of working in the animation industry, I'm paranoid about corrupted files or losing a file. So not only do I constantly save, I've probably saved about 30 times since this stream started. I've just always have my hand on the Control S or Command S. You can see it up here. It's saving. It's like 62%, whatever. Just because like I've lost so many files in the past, and after working on something, especially like for hours or days or weeks, you're just like, that is absolutely heartbreaking. Um, and then on top of that, I do versions because that way, if my version gets corrupted, I can go back and I've at least not lost everything. I've just lost like maybe the last 3 hours of work, which is better than losing the last 3 weeks of work. Um, let's see. I'm not doing the feature with the incrementing file names. I like to do it manually. It's probably just me being old fashioned, but I just, I'm so used to thinking about it constantly and doing it constantly that I don't take a lot of time to like automate it. I know Flash actually has like an autosave feature now, and I actually turned it off because it drove me crazy because I'd be at work and I'd be in the middle of trying to draw a line and it would pop on and be like autosaving. And I'm like, I don't want to do that right this second. Also, I just saved 15 seconds ago, so I don't really need it. And I just heard that the audio cut out. All right. Uh, is the audio back now? All right. Yeah, animating in Flash isn't necessarily cheating, but if you don't have to draw something again and you can just copy and paste it over, then that's what I call cheating. But it's a good cheating, you know. Um, so yeah, yeah, it's true, Ashley. Nothing's cheating as long as it works. It's there's a phrase that's like that. It's like it's if it's broke but it works, then it's not broke. Okay, audio is good. I've got a Berwainer running interference over here telling me when the stream goes out or if the audio cuts out or anything like that. So he thought the audio had gone out for everybody, so he was notifying me and letting me know. It's another reason it's good to have two people on here. Although I suppose if the audio was out, you guys probably would have yelled at me enough. I would have eventually seen it, but then I would have just been talking into the microphone to myself, which is just sad. All right. I'm not going to fuss with the ears too much because I can actually come back and work on that a little more. All right, so now I've got the basic head positions. I don't always finish each drawing before I move on to timing and things like that, just because I think it's actually because I have ADD. I've never been diagnosed, but I probably shouldn't joke about that because people with actual ADD, that is probably no fun. But I have a mind that likes to jump from thing to thing, and I'm easily distracted. So I tend to draw a little bit and then move on to the next thing and then draw a little thing. I don't have a whole lot of patience, which is funny to me because why in the world did I get into animation if I have no patience? Um, and so, anyway, I have everything kind of mostly done. You have an idea of where the motion's supposed to go. So, I'm just going to go ahead and plot out some of my timing. So, I tend to time uh, when the stuff is moving in one direction. So, from here, we have the head starting up here to the head going down here. That's one, like, let's say, arc or one range of motion. So, that's actually going to be fairly quick. I may not actually time this out because it may not need much timing. It might just need like one in between. I guess this will be frame one. My numbers are really messy because my brush is always set to drawing mode, but then it's really hard to write in drawing mode because the brush is all thin. I'm going to say this is at frame. Oh, actually, it's at an even frame. Let me move it. I like to number in odd numbers. I think a lot of animators do because you can go, if we're working on twos and we're only drawing every other drawing, you start with one and then you draw three and then you draw five and so on. It makes it a little easier to time things out. So I'm going to make sure. All right, let's see. So this will actually be frame 33. Yeah, so he goes all the way down on frame 33. All right, and then it actually might be a little hard for me to time this out because I won't be able to play this in real time because it'll lag on my computer, but I'll try to estimate it. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. So right now this is just specific to Photoshop. I guess I can go into a little bit of how that works. Each layer is represented here on the right in the layer panel, which if you work with Photoshop, you guys are probably familiar with that. But there's also a timeline where I can see the layers as they exist in time. So this is frame 1, which is layer A, and it goes all the way to about 33 frames over, exactly 33 frames over. And then however many seconds that is, I'm not sure. Actually, a little over 1 second because it's 24 frames a second. So I'm going to rename this 1 now that I know that it's my first frame. This will be 33. I like to label all my layers, so when I go looking for them up here, I can. You're only seeing Indigo's layers right now. That's because I have Bernie's in a video group. That way they're not taking up the entire thing. But here's all of Bernie's layers up here. And I have them all up here on the timeline, so they're sort of out of the way. And I turned them off earlier. When I save this scene, when I turn it in, I'm going to export them separately. And then they're going to get inked separately, and then they'll get composited back together. I think that's how that works. Berwainer can back me up on this. They'll get dropped back in and then dropped on the background, and then any effects or composition or anything is going to, well, not composition, but yeah. Oh, I wonder if I have the storyboard for this. That might interest you guys. To show you what I literally start from. Let's see. Oh, I do. Hold on, I gotta open it. So the storyboards were done a while ago. And I don't know if you guys know much about storyboards, but they don't have to be done in the final style of the movie because they're just to indicate like how far away the camera is, what the angle is, where the characters are standing in relation to each other, how they're acting, if they're smiling or what they're doing. And so make sure there's no spoilers in here. All right. So actually, I did the scene on the top too. These are actually more based off the pups' original designs. They got redesigned a while ago, although Indigo didn't really change much. But so the one I'm doing, it's actually these 2 frames here, and there were 2 different storyboards to show that Bernard is bent over and then he hops up to talk to him, and then Indigo sort of looks at him. And in the boards, he's sort of sad and then he looks at him. But I thought it'd be kind of nice if he had his head down more, so that when he picks it up, it's like a little more dramatic. So that's just a choice I made as an animator. Once I decided that, I drew out the keyframes for it, which is like this pose and then this pose. And then I posted those into the forum for approval. So, I don't just make my own decisions and then go, well, this is how the scene's going to look now. I post them. And then that also gives me a chance to get feedback in case I'm going off model. If anything's looking off, then the director and other animators or artists or whoever, really anybody, doesn't have to be other artists even. Like Berwainer contributes a lot to feedback, and we feedback on his compositing stuff too. So, and effects work. So yeah, we basically show it to each other and we go, hey, is this looking okay? Does this make sense? Do you get what's going on in the scene? So yeah. Now this is actually the part where I want to time it out a little more. He blinks down and he goes up. So he goes from the blink to his head being up. And I have one in between there. I want it to be kind of slow and to snap up at the end. So the problem is I'm not going to be able to do this with the lag actually. All right. I think instead what I'm going to do, because I can't work on his timing with the lag because I can't get an idea of what the real timing is, I might actually go back and work on Bernard a little bit. Oh, there he is. All right, check on the chat, I guess. Um, it's not the stream. It's I'm running too much on my computer. My computer is not terribly powerful. So the fact that I'm trying to run the software to stream and then also run Photoshop, I think my computer is just it's not a horrible lag. It's just not good for like I'm able to work through it. But it is affecting things like if I want to look at how like if I want to see this playback in real time, I can't also like it's going to be too hard to tell exactly how fast it's going, and then I base all of my animation off of that, so I don't want to start animating and find out later that the lag was making it run slower or jump a little or whatever. I really just need a more powerful machine, I think. It's but that involves lots of money, so I'm not working on that right now. All right, I know there was something with Bernie that I had forgotten about and that I needed to go back and address, and I think it was his ear fluffies, but I think there was something else too. You can see some of my timing charts here. Uh, yeah, if you follow Tanico Pantoja, then you can learn more about that from him. He's way better at it than I am. I'm still sort of learning. All right, so I can show you what I usually do for these. Well, I'm going to have to pull these out of the video group because it ends up being a huge headache. Let's see if I can just drag them out. I think I did that last time. Yep. All right, this is how they look when they're not in a video group. They're just spread out all over the timeline. Oh, stop it. I don't have you all selected. Did this last time. There we go. That looked crazy for a second, just really hairy. All right. You can see he changes colors too. That's just because I'll be in the middle of working on him and I'll change brush color for whatever reason. Sometimes I change, for my in-betweens, I'll do a different color so that when I do onion skinning, I can see the difference between the frames. And then when I go back to recolor, I don't select the exact same shade of blue. I just pick a blue and then he ends up being all kinds of different colors. And the colors don't necessarily mean anything right now for me. Some animators use colors to differentiate different parts. I'm literally just drawing because I like the color blue and I think it looks nice and it's soothing. And then I did indigo and red because it was different from blue. There's no like hidden motives there. Indigo is actually sort of a dark gray black color, as you can see here. And Bernard, whose model sheet I can open up here, is brown. There he is. So there's Bernard. I should actually have him open if I'm going to work on his ears. I'm going to see how his ears do, so I need to be about here. Oh, and the timeline's going to cover everything. I actually have a pretty big screen, and I still run out of space. But if I was any bigger, I don't think I could draw right, because my arm just wouldn't reach. All right, let's turn indigo off, and let's not turn the background off. All right, let's see. So his ears appear. It's really fun seeing this in slow motion, seeing his little mouth change shape. I really want to post this shot up when it's done, so you guys can actually see how it works in real time. I'll need to get permission for that, but I think it'll be all right. If they allowed me to stream it, it should be fine to post it too. Maybe it'll be the next shot we put up if I finish it ever. All right, so he's got sort of color select this blue this time. Grab it from here. Let's see. Most of our wolves have very similar ear fluffies. I think his came out a little bit rounder. Probably should make them more squared off, but I'll just have two of them showing up there. I try to be fairly clean. I mean, my drawing is messy, but you can see like where the lines begin and end, and I try to make sure the ends connect and stuff because the person who's going to go in after me and ink this is literally just going to be tracing over the top of it and inking it, and they don't need to be worrying about like, wait, this corner doesn't exactly match the other corner. So it's my job, hopefully, to actually make sure that everything is moving uh, at the same speed, that like the eye corner doesn't change in between drawings because that's going to cause a flicker later when it gets cleaned up. Um, Actually, and this is the case for any animated film, a lot of the magic, especially with animators, we notice this a lot. A lot of the magic is lost when you ink something, or not ink, but when you clean it up. Cleanup looks gorgeous and beautiful and final and colored and everything, but there's like a little bit of the soul is gone when the rough pencil pass is passed. Um, and this is the case. Like I've heard Disney animators talk about this too and complain about this. There's just something that it's hard to capture the same energy once you clean it up and color it and it's final. I mean, it does look fancier for sure, but I love looking at rough animations. I don't know if maybe that's just an animator thing or what. Uh, oh, it's already been an hour. All right. So what I like to do when I'm doing something like this, where I have a bunch of drawings that I've already made, so this animation already exists, but all I'm trying to do is let me see. I'm trying to draw the ear parts. I could just go straight ahead and on each frame just draw it slightly different. But the problem with drawing straight ahead and just doing one frame at a time is that eventually you're going to get way off model. Your drawings will stray farther and farther from the source. So what I like to do is I basically do like a sandwich. Let me see. I take two drawings that are far apart. Okay. So let's say this drawing, and then this was my old drawing. I'm going to move it over so it's next to that drawing. Actually, no. Let's do this drawing. It'll be easier. No, I guess I'll have to do that one. Okay. And I put them together, and I make sure that I animate that. And then when these two drawings are animated and everything's on model, I then go and I do the drawings in between, and I in between them the way that I would normally do with animation. Oh, it's being extra laggy now. Not sure why. It was just kind of sort of laggy now. It's, uh-oh, my stream is not good. Something's happening on the internet. Let's see. All right, I'm going to try to get to the bottom of this. I'm not sure if it's my computer or, let me see, it should say here. Nope, it's not my computer, I don't think. Yeah, Berwainer, I agree. We should put this up on the YouTube. Hmm. Let's see. Okay. So it doesn't seem like maybe there's problems. I just looked over in the I have a little stream update thing that's like telling me that I'm not doing good. But if you guys aren't noticing a difference, then maybe I'm not. I love that I stopped it on Bernie's butt. I hope you guys enjoy that. If it's too much trouble, I might end the stream now-ish because we've been on for about an hour. We've gotten a good chunk of stuff looked at. Um, Yay! I'm glad you guys are learning a lot. And I really like doing this too because, like, a lot of you are always surprised that we're still around. And I agree. We just a lot of times we're behind the scenes working on stuff, and we just don't really have much of an internet presence. Especially because it takes a lot of time to do that stuff. To run a stream. Like, I'm over here troubleshooting right now, and I had to go, get a headset and figure out, like, get Berwainer to help me with the settings and all this. So, that's a little extra time that I'm not spending animating. Um, Not really a big deal, but just explaining why we're not really always, social butterflies because we're just sort of busy uh, animating and or living our other lives when we're not animating. Um, so it's nice to be able to do a stream now and again and really connect with the fans and talk to you guys and be like, hey, you're still out there. And you guys are like, you're still there. And we get to high five each other and then get back to work. um, Plus, it's cool because I don't always know what everybody else on the project does. Like Berwainer's stream last week was awesome. I really enjoyed watching the way he puts the shots together and the effects work he does and everything. That was really interesting for me. I'm also biased because it was one of my shots with Luna, so I got to see my stuff getting composited, which is a really cool feeling. As much as I said the soul gets sucked out of it when it's just a drawing, then or when it gets inked, it does look cool when you then color it and put it in a background. Like there's a whole new element to it that you get to enjoy. So uh, I feel like I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite right now, but it is pretty cool when you get to see the final version of your shot all put together and colored. Let's see. All right, it looks like the stream problems aren't causing too much mayhem. So, yeah, but I might end soon anyway because I think I've covered a lot of the basics. I definitely want to do this again. Um, so I don't want to burn you guys out and I don't want to burn out myself. Feel free to drop by the forums if you want to chat with us some more, or you can also continue chatting in the YouTube channel. I don't know how long that lasts. And yeah, thanks so much, you guys, for being awesome and following us and being excited. It's really cool to see that there's people who are still excited about the project and to get giddy when they see us come on and stuff like that. It's also cool to like talk to other artists and see that they're also getting into animation or, I saw some of you guys agreeing with the fact that even inking a drawing, you lose some of the magic and all that. And it's just nice. It's cool artists hanging out together. Um, So yeah, hopefully we'll do another stream soon. I'd like it to be a weekly thing, but it's just going to depend on people's schedules. Um, and it also depends on if in a week I have more stuff to do because I may have this scene finished or I may be working on a scene that has spoilers and I can't show it off. Same goes for everybody else that might be doing these streams for Berwainer and whoever else we might be able to wrangle. Um, we can't always show the stuff we're working on, but as much as possible, I'd really like to. it motivates me too because if I'm like, oh, I got to do the stream tonight, then I'm more likely to be like, I gotta get this stuff done. Because like for instance, this morning I was fixing Indy because I was like, I really got to work on Indigo tonight, and if he's not fixed, I can't animate him. I got to fix his model, so I was like hustling to get that done. So a little bit of Wolf went a little faster today because of you guys. So thank you. Yeah. So okay, I think I'm going to end the stream now. I'm pretty sure I can just end it and you guys won't get kicked out of the chat. So if you want to keep chatting, you can. I'll be around for a little bit. And then, yeah, thanks you guys so much for joining us. This was really fun. Have a great night.